Shalom and welcome again to another exciting edition of the Torah Watchman Show International, non-for-profit organization 513, rest of the United States of America. This video is hosted by your favorite red-haired, Ka'ai Jew, Hakam Yar ben-Emmett. I hope everyone's been well. I have a newsflash special edition called the TWSI Middle East News Update. What am I talking about? But first of all, the most current news story right now going on in Israel is the arrest of two Palestinians who are members of something called the Shukat, I believe pronounced correctly, refugee camp. I did a little research about this. This was founded by the United Nations, not the Israeli government. Who cares about sovereignty of Israel more? I do. But 1965, United Nations demanded or mandated or worked with the liberal powers that be of the government during 1965 and set up a Palestinian refugee camp. If you look at a map, it's between Jerusalem, ben-Emmett, and the border of so-called the Palestinian-controlled West Bank or Samaria. Okay? Anyway, they arrested them because they were planning an imminent terrorist attack against Jewish targets in Jerusalem. When we haven't had enough of these Palestinians? Okay? We heard from Donald Trump, he's bragging on the Gaza peace plan. Well, all the aristocrats and all the politicians and high-ups and things like that, like the Hamas millionaires out of Qatar, may have signed the dotted line of intent and saying, hey, the Hamas terrorists that you once knew that murdered the Jewish people on October 7th, 2023, have we forgotten? Yeah, they've agreed to give up their arms. Yeah, their munitions and missiles, weapons of war and all that, and transferring peacefully to an unelected provisional Palestinian government. No one knows who that is. But they incidentally dissolved the committee that was supposed to set all that up between Witkoff and Kushner. What do you think about those two people? But this is not the video topic that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is two main crime syndicates that are active in Israel, have been active for about a decade at least, if not more. And people can correct me if I'm wrong. The active crime wave sweeping across Israel is currently playing out across two massive separate fronts. An explosive underworld turf war between Jewish crime families in central cities and a devastating record-breaking wave of homicides impacting Arab-Israeli communities. So you have yin and yang. One side is a Jewish crime family syndicate, like mafia kind of things, and then you have the Arab, and they're squeezing the Jewish people in between, and they're actually executing informants so that the security apparatus in Israel, the local police authority, the equivalent of the FBI, their security intelligence division, whatever you call it, I don't know exactly, but as soon as they get a witness, well, one or more of these crime syndicates, they target them for assassination, just like in Mexico with those drug cartels. This is happening in Israel, and I'm surprised to hear how bad it is, okay? Not many people are willing to step out of their comfort zone and report this, but yours truly is. Let's begin. Number one, the underworld turf war. Musli versus Jarushi. Okay? Central and northern Israel are experiencing a highly public and violent gang war. No one is isolated completely from this. And I thought crime was low, relatively low, among Israeli Jewish citizens, other than the continual flare-ups of Arab-Israeli terrorist attacks in different areas throughout Israel. But you got these crime syndicates that are controlling zones of businesses and everything else, and they are profiting, doing all kinds of illegal things that the government of Israel seems to be powerless to take care of. Because we're involved in Israel, we're involved in multiple fronts of war. But anyway, The conflict. Well, the conflict is a bitter feud between the Musli crime family and the Jarushi crime family. You may ask, if we know who these people are, why don't we just arrest them, detain them, and if they're doing these kind of murders and things, they don't have any rights, lock them up like domestic terrorism. Israel can do that. We can do this, okay? The Jarushi crime family, the Arab-Israeli Bedouin powerhouse. You heard about the so-called Arab Bedouins, the poor little Bedouins in the Negev desert, right? These are squatters, mainly illegals, that is a no man's zone. You go there, you get shot or killed or something like that. And Israel seems again powerless to control their borders from this insider threat. And sometimes that's the worst kind of threat, right? Now the Jarushi clan is universally regarded as one of the most powerful and ruthless Arab organized crime elements. I said this before, there are more Arabs that kill Jews than Jews that kill Arabs, or Jews that kill other Jews, with exception of some of these crime elements I'm getting into right now. Why do we openly give Arabs Israeli citizenship, all benefits it is, the Israeli blue card? Why do we give them the citizenship so automatically? And I think, if you correct me wrong, Mahmoud Abbas, the PLO chairman, actually gets to vet Palestinians into Israel and give them the same citizenship status. This should be part of Israel's Mossad, or whatever you call it, security apparatus, where they do background checks, extensive background checks on all of this. We should not carte blanche give citizenship to any Arab, anyone other than a Jew, whose first choice, and don't say apartheid, because Japan does the same thing. South Africa does the same thing, okay? I don't want to get into racial parity and things like that, but what I'm saying is there's a turf war and people need to come up with solutions right now to eradicate it. Now the Jarushi clan is the worst of the worst. The roots and the power base, based primarily in the central Israeli city of Ramia, specifically the Jarushi neighborhood. The family consists of an expansive Bedouin clan numbering roughly 2,500 people. Why were these people allowed to come in Israel in the first place? Why? Because the United Nations saying you're breaking laws, you are committing crimes against humanity. Who gives a damn about what the United Nations says about Israel or any other country if it's overly biased and anti-Semitic and don't even denounce a terrorist organization like Hamas? Don't get me started. Okay, this does not make any sense. They supposedly have ancestral roots going back to Libya. So you have foreign citizens setting up camp in Israel. Who allowed them in? Who gave them refugee status or whatever? Who allowed them in? We knew that Libya, during Gaddafi and all that war going on, ISIS had camps there. I don't want to get into that. I'm talking to Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm talking to Ben Gvir and the Likud Party and Bennett and some of the others. Why are you allowing this to happen? This didn't happen overnight. It's happened for a decade or more. It's going back to 2008 or something. Why is this going on? The targets over the past week and of this report here, and this is new, as of last several days I put this together, at least 13 to 15 grenade attacks, that's in Israel, arson attempts, and shootings have shaken central Israel. The primary targets are branches of the Japanika, Israeli largest sushi restaurant. Why is that restaurant even allowed to operate? I do not know, and I don't like sushi, I'm sorry. The Japanika is owned outright by Baruch Abramov, okay? A prominent Israeli businessman. Abramov, who grew up in Tel Aviv, started his career as a dishwasher at a local cafe before buying into the Japonica as a franchise and eventually purchasing the entire brand. Sounds like a monopoly to me, right? He also widely is known in Israel as the owner of the Beitar Jerusalem soccer team. If we know this is the head of this criminal element, and we know where the money and revenue is coming, why doesn't Israel not shut this down? Because it's unconstitutional? We have no constitution in Israel, right? Because the Supreme Court said it's wrong? Well, we already know we need judicial reform. Shut down the Supreme Court. If they get an array of prosecution of these known criminal elements there, throwing grenades at local businesses, creating terror throughout the streets of Israel. Don't we have enough problems with Palestinian terrorists? But we have this insider threat between these crime families. This is just unbelievable. Catalyst, the Japonica's owner, Baruch Abimov, who also owns the Beitar Jerusalem soccer team, I already told you about that, was historically close to the Musli family. However, police intelligence indicates he recently shifted alliances, power struggle, power grab here, and established close business ties with the rival Jarushi mob. As a result, the multi-million-dollar restaurant chain has become a literal proxy battlefield. If we know this is going on, if we know what the nexus of operations is in Israel, why is it not shut down? Are we afraid? Why is crime not prosecuted in Mexico like it is in Israel? Why? Because the Presidente of Mexico could be assassinated if they are not paying off a certain crime element, drug cartels, to look the other direction. This is the way it is, and this is what happened in Israel. This is shameful. Whoever allowed this to happen should be walked out of their political office. If you know that's going on and you have intelligence report, why do they need a fair trial? Why? If someone is throwing a grenade and someone owns a business and you know the name of the person, what else do you need? What is so complicated to put them under house arrest as a sponsor of terrorism? Israel is a nation at war, multiple fronts of war. At this time is the best time to do something like this. Okay? The United States has many laws on the books that allows President Trump to do the same thing. And he has done it, and I support him in that. Okay? The economic fallout. Well, the violence has completely derailed Abramov's plans for initial public offering, stocks, IPO. Of the Japonica on the stock exchange, okay? More broadly, systemic organized crime extortion, okay, such as protection rackets, is driving up the cost of living in the local areas, residential areas where this sushi restaurant is located, inflating the price of real estate, insurance premiums, and fresh produce. Why do you need insurance? Why is the insurance rates going up? Maybe because your business is an imminent threat of being bombed. Just go figure, okay? Now, the military weaponry link. Law enforcement officials noted that the explosives being used are stolen. You got theft here of an illegal weapon, high-grade military-issue munition, probably from the IDF. I'm just willing to guess here, okay? An IDF soldier was recently arrested, there you go, in Bat Yam after police raided his home and found dozens of stolen army grenades and ammunition intended for the black market. How did an IDF soldier be so corrupted and be paid off to allow these weapon cache to be in his own residence if Israel is doing proper background checks? This person has a security clearance. How does this happen? Okay, I guess they're not vetting it correctly. Maybe the war going on with Iran or whatever, Hamas or Hezbollah, is distracting people. There has to be a logical explanation about this, okay? The police crackdown on July 14, 2026, and this is just very recently. The Tel Aviv Major Crimes Unit arrested Yossi Musli, the prominent head of the Musli crime organization. Alongside him, multiple cells are being searched. So the different crime cells are being searched. His houses, people he knows, and things like that. Business partners and several other family members are being detained, and they should be on house arrest. A senior police official starkly admitted to Haaretz, a Jewish news outlet, that the authorities temporarily lost control of the border crossing chaos. Really? Number two, the devastating Arab community crime wave, okay? Parallel to the central Israeli mob war, and that's exactly what it is a deeply entrenched, lethal epidemic of violence, primarily impacting the country's Palestinian Arab Israeli minority. That is the distraction there. So they're trying to ignite violence between natural tendencies for blood feuds and things like that between so-called settlers, fighting over watering holes, grassy lands for the sheep, namely in Samaria, the West Bank. All of these things, they're taking advantage of that and inciting violence as a distraction, okay? A soaring death toll is the end result. Following 2025, which was previously recorded as the deadliest year on record in this community, not every community in Israel, but in this general community of this Japanika sushi restaurant, or where these crime families have their businesses there, okay? 2026 is on track to even worse. In just the first 6 months of 2026, 144 homicides were recorded within the Arab community. Again, mainly paybacks, target assassinations, police identifying witnesses, and then eliminating those witnesses before something can go to trial, I would just guess, okay? Now, the disparity, while Arab citizens make up roughly 20% of Israel's total population, and that's growing, they account for over 80% of the country's murder victims. So the Arabs are being murdered outright by these criminal elements themselves. But I have not heard on any Arab TV, maybe it's going on, Al Jazeera, whatever, I've not heard about this coming out. It's usually blaming the Jews for homicides against the Arabs, right? But this is what's happening. Lack of enforcement, okay? Only about 12% of these recorded 2026 killings have resulted in arrest or indictment. Why? Are the police paid off? Leading to a breakdown in deterrence. The rapid rise, and largely driven by entrenched Arab organized crime groups operating protection rackets, loan sharking, and the local turf wars. Okay? Controversial government response. Everything's controversial with the government in Israel, right? To counter the specific crisis, the Israeli government officially approved the highly controversial plan authorizing the Shin Bet, okay, that's Israeli Internal Security Agency, to intervene in a domestic civilian crime fighting scenario. The decision has been drawing severe criticism from civil rights groups in Israel. You know, we have the ACLU that causes a lot of problems in America. Well, to each their own, okay? It's happening in Israel too. Who warned that deploying a secret intelligence agency against citizens creates a deep civil inequality and bypasses standard legal protection. Folks, this is a turf war. People are dying. People are being murdered. Record homicide. Traditional police arrest and detainment, and then investigation and waiting on a judge to have a docket, a court trial, or some sort of indictment. It is not working. People are dying, and it's time to declare martial law in these areas and set a time in which people can actually come out of their homes if they're being bombed, okay? And these are Arabs that are being murdered and killed too, okay? I am giving them a voice as well. This is insane, what I'm reading to you, and it's unbelievable, and I'm sharing it to all my friends that don't believe me. Okay? Now, the equal application trap. We always heard about the Shin Bet, the Israeli security crime apparatus, who usually works for Mossad for other military-like things, like terrorism. Well, they are being used right now as internal security apparatus to investigate all the missing pieces of the chessboard, how this crime, these two crime families operate. They're already arrested one person. They already made arrests, and they're putting a dent in it, but they need to have momentum behind this and stop listening to the liberal civil rights group. The same people, thousands of people in Tel Aviv, mainly blue and white party, that were demanding that Benjamin Netanyahu step down, you know, and all of this stuff. Right before the horrible terrorist attack, the worst terrorist attack on the homeland of Israel, you know, October 7th. Okay? So, if the state tried to expand the national security laws to revoke the citizenship of the Arab-Israeli Jarushi family for civil gain violence, okay, I would do that. The exact same law would be automatically applied to the Jewish Musli family for the exact same crime. I would do that too. There are American citizens to this day have been accused of treason. They have lost their citizenship, especially if they flee abroad, and you have Interpol, and you have other countries that with arrest warrants that are outstanding for these people. It doesn't matter if you're a Jew or Gentile, if you're committing these crimes and people are dying and you're trading illegal weapons to commit more crimes, you lose your citizenship. Citizenship has a natural right for people born in Israel, okay? But you can lose your citizenship for many different reasons. It's rare, but you can do this. And if these people are committing acts of terrorism that are equal to anything that Hamas is doing against the Jewish people, and I believe it is, they should lose their citizenship status, whether it's a Jew or an Arab, okay? And apply equality when it concerns the crimes of these levels. The political establishment has rejected setting this precedent, as it would effectively weaponize citizenship status within an ordinary civil law enforcement. Folks, like Rabbi Khan said, being passive, peace at any cost would lead to the next Holocaust. And this is a form of Holocaust when people cannot live safely or feel confident in their safety in their own skin without being attacked by one or more of these crime families. Something radical needs to be done, because this is radical violence, and the homicide rate is increasing year after year. Status quo will not get the job done, in my opinion, okay? Now, this legal boundary is precisely why the government current emergency deployment is so unique. Benjamin Netanyahu did not try to legally label the Jarushi as political terrorists. That is problem number one. We label Tim LaVey, you know, the FBI building that was bombed in Oklahoma City, as a terrorist. And if you commit acts of violence using weapons, mass weapons of destruction against other Americans, these are isolated pockets of domestic terrorism. Why did Bibi do this? It's not going to get him elected. It's not going to make him popular. Okay? Why did he do this? I am disappointed again with him. So he deployed the Shin Bet counterterrorism surveillance and anti-smuggling tools instead to target them as a direct physical threat to the state, while keeping their prosecution firmly bound to heavy punishment of the civil penal code. I mean, no, don't do that, right? Israel, their government, the Knesset, recently passed capital punishment again for any terrorist that is guilty of committing homicide, premeditated murder against another Jew. For instance, all the Hamas terrorists, and Israel has targeted them too over a period of time, have either been targeted and exterminated at this hour, or they've been arrested and they're waiting arraignment to be executed. The same thing can apply for any of these people. Look in Webster Dictionary if you don't understand what the word terrorism is. If you're creating terror in the street, you're throwing grenades, people are dying, even witnesses are trying to do their rightful civil duty and reporting who or what is behind these things, and they're being executed out in the street. This kind of thing happened in New York City in the gang wars, a long time ago. In Chicago gang wars and all this is, people die every weekend in Chicago, and Donald Trump and other people are talking about this right now. So what do you think about this TWSI Middle East news flash? There's more coming about this story as it's developing. I will let you know. You'll be the first to know about this. Listen, I hate to be the spreader of bad news, but I'd rather be a realist than be a dead optimist any day. Okay, this is Hakan Yar ben-Emmett signing out. Until the next time, God bless you, Shalom Aleichem, and peace.
If you've enjoyed this program, please click like and subscribe.